Hi crafters! If your desk is always cluttered, if you struggle to organize your supplies and if you can't find anything in stores that really matches your taste or your needs, I might have the perfect solution for you. Today we are creating a decorative and functional desk organizer, something that looks store-bought but is completely customized to your own needs. As a crafter, I needed a piece that could organize my cutting tools, drawing supplies and sewing materials. So I started with a sketch. I designed a box with multiple compartments, some large, some small, some round, some rectangular. At the top, I added a post-it or small notebook holder. I also designed a chest compartment for materials I want to stack or store in a more closed roomy space. And of course, I needed a place for push pins, so I designed small padded cushions to sit on unused areas. I begin by tracing the external walls of the box onto double corrugated cardboard. I traced the bottom piece first because it will sit between the four walls, slightly raised above the feet. All the other walls will be built around it. The back wall is taller than the front wall because I wanted to hold post-its or mail. It also has a curved design at the top for a softer look. I carefully cut everything out. To assemble the structure, I use masking tape. Before covering anything with craft paper, I want to be sure the skeleton is complete, so now I create the internal dividers and the top of the chest compartment. You decide how wide you want each compartment, then you cut rectangles of cardboard matching the height of the compartment and the width you need. I start with the chest compartment. I must include the lid in my measurements. I cut a wide rectangle and score it where the lid needs to pivot. Scoring means you press into the cardboard without cutting all the way through. This helps the lid fall smoothly without staying open and it makes it stronger. Once the chest fits perfectly and opens and closes nicely, I move to the back compartment. I measure the remaining width and cut two identical vertical dividers. Then I add a horizontal divider between them to create 4 compartments total. The structure looks like an H shape. I tape everything securely. Because it's difficult to use masking tape inside narrow spaces, I switched to hot glue to fix the dividers to the bottom. In my original design, I added an arabesque pattern at the bottom and small feet at the front and back. I think curves make furniture look more finished and elegant than straight lines. To build the base, I imagine a large square with extension that will fall down to become the feet. I draw my arabesque on the larger extensions, then I cut, fold and tape everything into a frame shape. I tape it with ramboard underneath the organizer to stabilize it, and now I can move on to creating the shelf that will sit against the back wall. I cut 2 small cardboard triangles to act as brackets and tape them on each side. Then I cut a band of double corrugated cardboard the same width as the space between the brackets and as tall as the brackets. I tape it in place to close the document holder. Now I hot glue the chest into place. I had kept it separate in case I wanted to modify it, but I'm happy with the design. For the side pockets, I want them to look like buckets. I could build them with cardboard, but getting a smooth round shape would take time. So I reuse a round food container that is about as wide as it is tall. I cut it in half, no waste. I use both halves. If they feel too large, I trim them slightly so they fit perfectly against the sides. With that, the skeleton is complete. Now I cover everything with small pieces of craft paper glued all over the structure. This step takes time and patience, but think of it as the armor of your project. It strengthens everything and helps it last. After that, I apply the first layer of paint. This can be your primer if you plan another color, or your final color if, like me, you love white. I apply up to 4 coats for even coverage. It definitely takes some time to get a smooth and satisfying finish, but now comes the fun part. First, I'm going to make a cushion. I'm using some foam that usually comes with parcels as a cushioning mat, and I really hope this inspires you to start saving it too, because it's not recyclable and can be put to good use in crafts instead of ending up in the landfill. I cut a rectangle of foam the same size as the top of my chest, then I take some old wool stockings my daughter used to wear, place it inside and stitch it closed. I love using clothes I already have at home in my crafts, especially pieces my children used to wear. They add a little memory and make the project even more special. Now I'm going to finish the inside of the compartments. I'm adding colored paper to the bottoms and the back walls. For the back walls, I'm using a blue paper with silver veins that I got at Hobby Lobby a while ago and had been saving for the perfect project. This is finally the moment to use it. I cut rectangles to fit each back compartment perfectly. For the bottoms, I use vinyl adhesive paper from Dollar Tree. It's perfect because it makes the compartments washable in case anything spills. For the top arch, I cover it with the same blue paper. You will need to overlap the paper slightly on the back of your organizer to match the curve perfectly. Covering the inside walls of the bucket is tricky. The vinyl tends to lift in some places even though I cut small slits to help it stick. To fix this, I use thin strips of my blue pattern paper along the inner and outer edges of the bucket. This seals everything neatly and also adds a cute little detail. At this point, I notice my box is starting to look like a shell and I love that idea. So I decide to play on it. I cover the underside of the chest lid with glittery silver paper and use white pattern paper from Dollar Tree for the inside. Next, I create a small shell with the same silver glitter paper and add thin strips of glittery foam to create the grooves. I cut a second, larger shell from white sparkly foam board and glue the silver on top to add dimension. I place this composition in the middle of the organizer. I make smaller shells the same way to decorate the sides, one white glittery foam shell on a silver background and another white glittery shell on the blue pattern paper I used earlier. I finish the edge of my shelf with a strip of white glittery foam. For the back of the organizer, I paint it with green iridescent paint and glue a sheet of white paper mill over it to soften the effect and give it a rustic look. I also stitch a few beads on the front edge of the foam lid cover, shells and pearls to keep the marine theme. Inside the buckets, I add a wavy white glittery foam trim to finish the tops. To attach the foam lid to the chest, I use Velcro strips. The scratchy part sticks directly to the lid and the soft part is stitched to the foam. Be careful when stitching through glue. You need a strong needle and protection on your finger. I use a silicone finger protector to stay safe. Earlier, I also made a second padded board to cover the top of the shelf. I wrapped it in foam and stitched an iridescent fabric around it. At first, I planned to put it at the front, but it didn't look right, so I hot glued it at the back instead, letting part of its contour show to enhance the shell effect. I decorated the top with a few pearls. Finally, I add a small seahorse ornament to the front shell, a pearl in the middle of the top shelf, and a pink fish scale decoration in the middle of the cushiony lid. And voila, my organizer is complete. It looks beautiful on my desk, but the best part is that it's practical. This is going to become one of my precious tools for staying organized, and the great thing, you can design yours however you want so it becomes your perfect, most useful companion. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more creative projects, and let me know in the comments how you would use your organizer. Thank you so much for crafting with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy crafting!